That's what happens. That's what happens,
I don't.
and that's why I'm scared of you.
Uh, uh,
It's so dark in there.
it is. I was just noticing how extremely like Blair Witch. I think
Yeah,
it's
that's a
because the
good.
TV's on behind me, so it's like drawing the light from that, and you're like, oh, we don't need to like correct the light.
That's funny. Oh yeah, sort of lit up for a second there. Oh, it's good. All right. Making sure that everybody knows that. Okay. Okay. I don't even know if anybody's watching. I never know if anybody even watches this, but you know what? I don't care. The whole point of this is
Yeah,
you and I used to do this by ourselves for no reason, and then we just to turn it into a show in case somebody wanted to watch it.
right. So that we could better justify it for ourselves.
Exactly, and that's. I mean, and if I'm not mistaken, a large portion of that incentive came from our discussion of puppy boobs.
Yeah,
So there was a very long, involved conversation about this dream game that we were going to make.
the dream is real.
That's true. Way forward, just making swaying 2D breasts on a dog. Oh man, man,
with
oh man.
five thousand cells of animation.
Yeah, exactly. Per boob, and they're all unique.
Yeah,
Like no two breasts swing alike.
right.
That is a lot. That is the most unnecessary amount of frames of animation for anything, especially boobs. Unless I'm trying to think like how you would justify that because okay, so for high quality animation, 24 frames a second. We're used to going for 60
hmm
for a game. And if you're shooting on twos, which is sort of like the animation standard, you expose one frame or one drawing for two frames. You're going to get really high quality. In most cases, like a cycle of a character moving or running is 10 to 15 frames. So if you have 5,000 frames, that means your character the puppy could move for several minutes with entirely unique animation per breast.
Yeah.
It's an unreasonable amount of detail.
Here's actually I was thinking that it's like it's just a 5 second animation loop, like cycle, with 1,000 frames every second.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
So this game is running on something that can run at 1,000 frames a second.
Right. And what makes it look unique? Here's the engineer's trick for
Okay.
all you animators at home.
Yeah.
Since it's 1,000 frames per second, the human eye can't see 1,000 frames per second, right?
No, not at all.
So every time you see part of the cycle, your brain's gonna catch some weird frame in there. Because I assume they're not like a rigid like spacing. It
Yeah.
just sort of grabs what it picks up. So it's gonna look like new animation just constantly happening.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's a lot. That's that's kind of a neat tactic actually because then you can trick the brain into thinking of infinite frames of animation since it'll always look unique.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Okay.
Like it sounds like a lot. Okay, you hear 5,000 frames and you're thinking, I don't want to draw that
Yeah.
for 5,000 frames.
Right.
But what you get in return is limitlessly random animation.
That's a good idea. It's almost like if you if you imagine you took like Final Fantasy X, and you know how like sometimes like Tidus will jump forward and be like, "Oh, you're stupid" or whatever, and he'll hit like the crow in the face with his sword. Um, what if
hmm
what if you could take like some sort of like voice generator and like you just give him a full-on phonetic engine and
Yeah.
like he could basically like in some sort of like word randomizer or sentence where it would properly construct sentences out of like the infinite words that he's allowed to say, and so he'd always be yelling shit, and it wouldn't necessarily make any sense at all. But he's always just
hmm
yelling like weird crap, and sometimes like the computer would throw you a curveball, and I don't know, maybe it would sound like it was just being translated to Al Bhed, but he would yell something that phonetically like is pronounceable but doesn't actually make any sense.
Sure. You can do that. The alternative is live voice actors.
Oh, who are constantly like they're always they're casting from like a studio and streaming to your game box.
Yeah.
And so
But you know, obviously you can't have them on call, right?
right.
So here's the advantage of that, is that everyone's game is unique based on who is assigned to it. And it goes even a step further because, you know, you could be playing Final Fantasy X and like Tidus and Yuna are like he's picking her out of the lake or whatever. I never really understood what was going on. And they're about to have their tender romantic moment. And then that voice actor's shift ends, and you get some other dude who's not very good at it in the middle of that cutscene.
A custodial employee or whatever.
Right, just someone, because the guy's running late, and so they have to fill in. Otherwise, Tidus is just gonna not say anything, and it's gonna be really awkward and weird.
Yeah, like he just stares at Yuna, and she's like,
"Yeah,
I really think I love you," and he just like, you know, there's nothing to tell her.
Right.
But then then the guy comes in, Steven Chavez or whatever, and he just goes, Thank you, Yuna. Except
he says it wrong. He says Yuan.
Thank you, Yuan.
and also to make sure the mouth syncs up, because motion capture data is that's really intensive stuff. So if you stream it, it could wind up kind of out of sync. It could end up desynced. So you use an analog signal, right? The voice actors just have a button that they push whenever they're saying a word, and so the mouth just kind of opens and shuts to reflect that.
What they could do, and this is the next big thing in technology. I decided, is is that they I mean, because you know you can do like the live like face rotoscoping the way Bindi did with LA Noire, but they're gonna have a technology where it's literally it's like a mouthpiece, like a mouth guard that you put in, so all it can detect is just opening and closing, and not lip movement or tongue or anything like that. And that way, like all you have to do is like stick this mouth guard in like the janitor's mouth, and he starts speaking. But it also like it's kind of big and a little bit clunky.
Mm-hmm.
Like imagine like you're at the dentist or something, so it's gonna actually make him sound worse. And so like he's gonna sound like he's got something in his mouth, while Tidus is on screen being all sensual, and it's just gonna sound like a guy eating like potatoes while telling Yuan that he loves her.
Right.
In a half-hearted manner.
Yeah.
Okay.
But at 5,000 frames per second.
5,000 frames a second, so it's always visually impressive.
Yeah.
Every single time it's a new... You play through the game just to see the unique lip syncing every single time. It makes no sense. But that's what I want. That's what I want from a game.
Yeah.
That's what I want from a game. Okay, good. So this is a very important. Ha ha ha.
But it looks different every time.
Yeah,
and maybe, but see, here's the beauty of my plan now: is that sometime you're gonna get a guy who just comes in, right? He's his first day on the job. He doesn't know Tidus from a hole in the ground.
Right. Yeah.
So he doesn't. He has no idea like what his motivation in the scene is. He's just got to go. It's his shift. Yeah. And so they're like, "Hey Tidus, like try to laugh." And he just goes, like just sort of like a very sort of natural like.
Chuckle. Yeah.
Yeah. And then that scene is a lot different.
That would change things. It would ruin my experience of Final Fantasy X. No, it wouldn't, because Squaresoft could put a bullet point on the back that says thousands of ways to play.
Right.
Because your game experience is different every single time.
Every time. You only have to buy one game, and that game will be, in terms of visual and audio presentation, different. What if we take it a step farther? What if we move it to music and have live improvisational jazz for every game soundtrack?
Well, what if you had like? Do you want to do something where there's okay? So like they just give the jazz band, they say play this song in like A minor because you would get a
No,
set.
they don't give them any, like, they can see what you're doing, and they just have to make music that
So
fits that mood.
that it really it fits the scene and like
Yeah.
like it could be a scene of like Titus letting Una fly off a cliff or whatever, and like it's supposed to be all dramatic, but they think that he's trying to kill her, so they make it really triumphant.
Yeah, he's defeating the end boss.
He's killing the woman that he's supposed to be killing. Okay, okay.
Or maybe they think it's like a music video, right? Like she's not falling a cliff, like she's sort of like twirling away from him,
Uh,
and so there's like.
I thought it was gonna be like maybe she's actually ascending upwards towards him, like she's flying at him, but they're just playing it backwards because it's like a cool music video. And then they flip the frame, and then they invert the colors, and then like it cuts to a scene of what did you say last time, a dog or whatever.
Yeah.
Make your own video starring SquareSoft.
Yeah.
So this is basically a dream game, is what we're coming up with. Is the dream version of Final Fantasy
We're shifting everything about the industry.
X. Yeah, this is a paradigm shift, and if Nintendo and Sony and Microsoft were to watch this, E3 is going to be a lot different because they're all going to want to
We're
adapt.
leaving nothing the way we found it.
Say what?
We're leaving nothing the way we found it.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. It is definitely. This is a brand. This is the Genesis. This is video games 2.0, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think is a good idea. You know, the industry needs a reboot, and the best way to do it is to randomize all game content. Doesn't matter, Mario or Halo or whatever. It's just.
What if it randomized everything though, like levels, like control scheme,
Configuration options?
genre?
It makes me think of the chaos. Okay, when you were young, or maybe even like present day, and you're playing Toe Jam and Earl, and you had almost all of your presents figured out, and then you accidentally got a randomizer present.
Mm-hmm.
It throws off everything.
Yeah.
It puts your world into chaos.
Right.
You're like, I know what the tomatoes are. I know where my rose bushes are. You know, the rocket skates. I don't want to use them yet, and you're pumped because like you've got a plan. You know, something happens. You use your unfall, and then, boom, presents just turned into whatever. Who knows? Could be anything. That's dangerous, and this is kind of like what it's going to be for the industry. Everything that we know is going to change.
How do you market a game that could be anything?
It could be anything. The new Super Mario Brothers. This is what it's going to say on the box, and it'll just say on the back thousands of ways to play. You know, because every time you turn it on, it's different. You know.
Yeah.
Like once you turn it on, I guess it's still randomized because like in the middle of playing, maybe it'll change genres. You know what's funny is like this is really not even a bad idea for an indie game.
Right.
Like there's a lot of merit to something like this where it could literally change on you at a moment's notice. Like you're slogging through a dungeon, you know, killing slimes with your sword and leveling up and grinding, and then suddenly you're kart racing to the exit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then right after that finishes up, then like you have to play basketball with the Dragon Lord or whatever.
Yeah.
I would play that game. Something about like the need to constantly adapt always is kind of exciting to me. It's kind of like if WarioWare didn't have like an in between, you know, like it went from just one to the next to the next to the next to the next instantly.
Yeah.
I feel like I want this now.
There's no DLC. There doesn't need to be DLC.
That's true, yeah, because I mean anything can happen.
What if bugs are also randomized? What if just sometimes the games just crash?
Oh no. Well, yeah, that's probably gonna happen. But the bugs could be really good. Like
Yeah.
you could be rescuing the princess, and then she just ragdolls into a trash can or whatever during a cutscene.
Yeah, and then you get infinite lives.
Yeah, exactly. And then you accidentally go back to level 1 and you're stuck in a loop. And you can't actually pass the level until the next glitch happens. I'm excited.
Yeah.
TC actually suggests Tidus DLC, so everybody laughs like him.
Okay. But they all laugh differently because it's random Tidus.
Random Tiduses, yeah, because you have like a baby girl Tidus.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Kilcrease also says his farts smell really bad, so bad. Is what he's saying.
My questions are frozen again. I might have to drop and rejoin to fix. Well, let's see.
That's what happens. That is what happens. It's happening right now. The happening.
What's happening?
What's happening? Welcome freshmen. All right, who would win?
Okay, why were we both thinking of Welcome Freshmen?
I don't know.
I was thinking about saying it. I'm like, that makes no sense. Welcome Freshmen has nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
So I just didn't say it.
But I felt you thinking it, so I had to say it for you. You were embarrassed.
I'm freaked out now.
That is kind of weird. I don't know. It made sense. It made sense. Like the wavelength was there. So if there were a game that were a crossover, a mashup, we'll say in the vein of like Ninja Gaiden or Bayonetta or whatever 3D action game, Welcome Freshman X.
Hey Dude.
Oh, Hey Dude would be really good. I was thinking the one with Saved by the Bell, but like those are both so similar, like you wouldn't be able to tell them apart. Okay, so Hey Dude versus Welcome Freshman.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I don't remember any characters' names from Welcome Freshmen at all.
All I remember is Mortis the Safety Tortoise.
I don't remember that at all. I remember everybody from Hey Dude. That's it.
That's the only thing you remember?
Yeah, but Welcome Freshmen is all the Hey Dude cast members. The only thing, yeah, my mom asks me when my birthday is, or like what I.
And all you say is Mr. Ernst.
Mr. Ernst, yeah. I just Brad. That's all I can tell.
Danny.
Ted, yeah. Did Brad and Ted ever get together? Was that like the thing? I can't remember like any plot to that show.
I think they were. I think they brought Ted back for an episode.
Did he die and then come back to life, or did he just like go home?
I think he went home. I think Ted and Brad were together, but Pinsky and Michael never were.
Okay. Melody.
I think.
Melody. Was Melody with anybody? Did she want Ted?
Melody, no, wasn't she the horse one?
Well,
like she was kind of paired with Danny, but they were both just kind of like, eh.
It was very platonic kind of
thing.
They're just both like, I'm standing next to you, and that's fine. And, like that was sort of like the extent of everything.
Right.
Well, we can be in the same room and it's cool. Like, you know, I'll say hi to you. Yeah, you don't. They're not abrasive to each other. They get along. But Ted, okay, because Brad always gave Ted guff. But she secretly liked him, which is why she gave him the guff.
Wait, Brad's who's Brad?
Brad is the chick, with the dark hair.
Oh, okay. Yeah, she likes Ted.
Chick Brad.
Well, who is the Ted replacement? Who replaced Ted? Did anyone replace Ted? No, someone replaced Ted.
I don't remember. Maybe Brad turned into Ted. Like she ate his soul, like because that's like the old Indian lore. Like Danny cast a spell, or whatever.
Okay.
Like that's how it.
I am going to leave and come right back.
Okay. Okay. Well,
you think about what you just said.
Okay. Yeah. I'm ashamed or proud. Okay. Michael had to leave for a second to restart. His computer's been giving him problems for the evening. We're in the middle of a hot conversation regarding cast members of Hey Dude. Actually, the cast of Hey Dude in the show, not like whoever played whoever else. And Mr. Ernst. Ooh, that was nice. That's what they call the rude awakening.
Yeah.
It beats Closer Explains It All is what TC says.
I don't know about that. Clarissa Explains It All has merit. It's weird, but it does.
You are super out of focus.
I am. Whoa, hey, come here.
Your attitude.
Come here. There we go. There we go.
Kinda.
A little bit. There we go.
TC
videos.
I love online videos. Online.com. My favorite website. I wonder if that's a website. I don't know why I make myself laugh all the time, because I think I'm funny.
Yeah.
I'm making me laugh. TC has a question. Has there ever been a good where capturing you and taking away your weapons level in gaming? And I thought of one actually instantly.
Yeah, me too.
What is yours?
Metroid Fusion, the whole game.
Fusion, okay. And so, like, you download the ability to reuse your weapons.
Yeah.
I always kind of like the way that the Metroid games did it, because it's unconventional, and, like, even if it didn't exactly make sense in some levels, I guess Other M is really the biggest one, where they're like, hey, lock your most powerful weapons, while you're dying. I still kind of like that they used some sort of vehicle for that.
Yeah.
But Chrono Trigger, you get captured, and they take away all your stuff. And you have to sort of sneak through the vents, and I kind of like that. That's one that I always found favorable.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of others. Or, like, I guess in Metroid Prime, the beginning where Ridley hits you against the wall so hard that your morph ball falls off or whatever. And I thought, kind of a fun idea, just because, like, it doesn't exactly have to make sense, but, like, something happens. At least there's something. And the way this is an element that I often talk about, how a story is inconsequential to me as long as the objective is clear. Okay? I love a good story. I love a great story, but it doesn't need to be there for me at the core level. As long as I know what I'm doing, as long as I know what's supposed to be happening and why I'm doing it, I guess I don't even really care why. I just need to know what I'm doing. Like, if a game makes my objective clear, Mario, the story is, that Peach has been kidnapped, probably go rescue her. That's it. That's usually good enough for me, so I'm cool with that. But even if it's silly, like Ridley slams you so hard that Samus can like run super fast and crash herself into a wall, or jump in a lake full of lava and then hop back out, or like take an explosion to the face in other circumstances and she's fine. But Ridley crunches her once, and like all of these abilities just fall off of her body and then land somehow on the planet below.
Yeah.
And that's fine. I don't care that it doesn't really make sense, but I like that there's even a reasoning,
Sure. Yeah. Like I agree, because like in the later Metroids, which you can say are not as good by comparison typically to the earlier ones, they go out of their way to explain why you have to find all your power-ups again.
Mm-hmm.
They don't do that in the earlier ones, which are the better games, I think, by and large. But Samus has to find the power-ups every time, because if she doesn't, the game is not fun.
Right, yeah, that's part of the experience for you. And whether you're downloading missiles or like you're finding a sacred room that held the item that Ridley punched off of you, that's fine,
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter the way you do it, as long as like there's a reasoning, whether it makes sense or not. I kind of like that.
Yeah.
In fact, some cases, the wackier the better.
I think that there are a lot of instances where those kinds of levels are bad,
mm-hmm.
but there are ways that they're done well too. I mean, Lufia 2's Ancient Cave basically turns your standard RPG to a roguelike,
mm-hmm.
where you have to find all your gear every time you go into the dungeon. Aaron's replaying through Fable right now, and Fable has the boast system where you can do quests naked for extra experience.
Mm-hmm.
So when it's voluntary, I think that really kind of helps out. Yeah, and it stinks sometimes, sure, but
there's something in Final Fantasy IV, I believe, where like you're in like a magnetic cave and you can't use weapons.
You can't use anything metal, yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of a cool, like, hey, you're used to doing this, and there's ways around it, but like, This is just kind of a fun condition to be met.
Yeah, and what that cave does is, like, if you're breezing through Final Fantasy IV, that cave shuts you down super fast.
Yeah, I just goes, hey, remember that. Yeah, you're not omnipotent. I like that. I think that's a cool idea, and even if it's silly, like if I was playing a Metroid game and suddenly they're like, here's a magnetic room where you can't do 9 out of the 10 things you normally do, deal with it. It's fun to have a miscellaneous condition that comes along and sort of disrupts your comfort in a way. It can be done poorly, yeah, but I think in a lot of cases it's a fun sort of exercise in go back to the basics and remember how difficult this might be without all your junk.
Yeah.
Aaron asks if you own any light bulbs.
Yeah, I own about a dozen, probably.
Just own them. Like have a collection.
Yeah, they're mint.
Chris is discussing Goat Simulator, which is a fantastic game. He's asking.
I still haven't had a chance to properly play it yet.
It's really. Oh yeah, because your computer's not running it properly.
Yeah,
correct?
my computer hates it.
That's funny. Yeah, mine runs it decently well, but it's kind of surprising, like how many issues I had when I was trying to stream it the other night. Like the frame rate was actually pretty bad. But it is a great game, and apparently has a really dark story. There's a Kotaku article that I didn't end up reading, but I thought that was an interesting concept. And TC says if you go to online.com, it redirects you to CNET.
I think CNET like bought up every domain name that was just like super generic in like 1997.
Is there internet.net?
There might be inter.net.
Inter.net. What about inter.net, all one word, .net?
Probably not. You can probably get that one.
Inter.net.net. Okay. Goat Simulator is great. And for some reason, I feel that would be really fun to play on consoles. I mean, I was playing with the controller anyway. I don't think they're going to release that like on like the indie store for anything, but I'd accept it. I would accept it readily. So that was actually a pretty good question. It's
Whether or not I own light bulbs?
Yeah, that was a great question. I was really impressed. It was well thought out. Because I don't know if you own light bulbs. You might own plenty. Like you said, you have tons, but you're not utilizing any.
Yeah.
That's brave. I think
Look, eventually the electric company is going to run out of gas, and I'm going to need to get my light from somewhere.
That's true. That's a good point. You know what's going on. So TC says the magnetic cave was pretty decent. I'm trying to think of any other examples like that. Were there any in a game that came up that like absolutely pissed you off? Like something where you're just like... And I'm sure there's some for me, but I'm trying to think of any at this point.
Generally, no. I try not to criticize that sort of thing. I mean, I'm highly of the belief that stealth games are fun, but stealth missions in games that aren't built around stealth are generally terrible.
Yeah.
But I still kind of like if it's decent enough to handle, it's not a problem.
Right.
Like when it's like, oh, this guard saw you, go back like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And you have to like do it all. Like it gets really frustrating.
Sure, that's not fun.
I don't really mind so much having abilities taken away because it kind of forces you to re-explore the game mechanics. It keeps you on your toes.
Oh, did you play Metroid Zero Mission?
Yeah, I love that game.
There's a whole ton of like these situations, I guess. But Zero Mission was great not because like this is Samus's first mission. You go down and you find the morph ball and you find missiles and you find ice beam and stuff, but because 3/4 of the way through the game, like they don't just take away most of your abilities; they take away your entire suit.
Mm-hmm.
So you're forced to actually have to play differently, a la stealth, like you're just mentioning, as Zero Suit. And I thought that was a great mechanic. Because, I mean, she dies in like 3 hits because she just attacking space pirates with her boobs. And that's not effective because they don't care. They're asexual, and so they're not, after Samus because she's a sexy lady. They just view her as a target.
Yeah.
Target frequent shopper. And they're like, target police.
Yeah, is her Zero Suit Massimo brand?
I think it's No Fear.
Oh, okay.
But it was,
Kyle Petty's Zero Suit Racing.
but it was a great mechanic, and it was done extremely well because it wasn't super long. And even if so, if you did die, like it was more of just a, oh, I'll try that real quick because you didn't go back 40 hours or whatever. Like it really was just a quick, I've got to make it through this part, and then the moment you come back, you're like 20 times more powerful, and it's just like, all right, the satisfaction that was built from that was immense.
Yeah.
Extremely well done. Zero Mission is a great game. That really contends with Super Metroid for my favorite of the series. It's a tough call between those two.
I hate that the Game Boy Advance Metroids were so good.
So good.
And we don't have anything else after that like it.
Yeah. I'm really hoping for a return to form with like a really solid 2D Metroid. And the thing is, while I want, like a high-res, hand-drawn Metroid, to me, there's so much charm in the 16-bit representation of a Metroid game that just looks and feels so perfect, But I certainly wouldn't be opposed to like a really highly detailed, way forward developed, Metroid game.
Is there any series that you would hate Way Forward to make?
I'm trying to think of a game series that I truly like despise. And, there's like a lot that are not to my liking. Way Forward, Home Alone. But even they could probably make it fun. I mean, they would actually make the game probably pretty good if they redesigned it, but I guess that's not what we're going for. If they re-upped the graphics.
Way Forward's Ghostbusters 2.
Oh, man. Those games... I am appalled that it took up until like the Xbox 360 to have a good Ghostbusters game. No, I guess there was a couple back in the day that like were not widely represented.
Yeah.
But I really like the 360 PS3 Ghostbusters a lot. I thought that was fun.
360 Ghostbusters.
All of them are different ethnicities?
No, they're all white male.
Okay, that's a lot of privilege right there.
Yeah.
So no matter what happens, like they're set.
You gotta be a white dude to bust ghosts.
That's true.
Women lack the constitution.
Like they avoid their bowels.
Mm-hmm.
The moment they see a ghost, they're just crapping solid bricks everywhere.
That's how the maxi-pad industry got started, was just in case you were a woman and you bumped into a ghost.
Yeah, suddenly like a ghost shows up, and what do?
You wouldn't soil your pretty dress.
Yeah, I don't want to... They're basically butt pads.
Yeah.
Okay. So that sucks that pads are only for, like, one slot. They should go all the way back and protect you from everything. They're sort of like a diaper. Right? Well, they should be. Is what I'm saying. So that way when you poop, it doesn't just like fall out of your dress or whatever. Like it gushes up like the side of your butt. And I guess that's assuming you have diarrhea. Otherwise, okay. So if you have a pad, this is my Morrigan Christmas bag that you can see. You have this pad, and the poop comes out, because normally a poop is like a log, right? It's going to hit it and push the pad downward away from your vaginal area. So you have to either like tape it.
Oh, well, you're overestimating the Newtonian properties of poop. Like poop does have some degree of resistance, but it's very, very small.
Well, the woman's gonna want to push it out as fast as she can because you don't want it like sitting halfway in your butt, just sort of tapping against the pad. Like, you can leave it there and you can just turtle head and be like, I'm gonna wait till you get to a toilet and then finish the job. But sometimes you're just gonna want to be like, you know what, I don't have time for this. And then release onto the pad, and it's gonna just rub and chafe, and then you're gonna get
all kinds of diseases.
Yeah, you'll get just diseases will be made, like they'll be conjured. Do you think? Okay, so that's what I think a wizard, like that's where they get their magic. Okay, because you know how a Boy Scout can like rub two sticks together, boom, fire. That's kind of like a magic spell, right? Wizards rub poop, and then they make a disease.
Only fecomancers do that.
Fecal or witch doctors.
Hmm.
Is a witch doctor basically a fecal mancer?
More or less.
Okay.
You have to go to school. You have to get your PhD to get the doctor part of it.
So what I want to know mostly is when you're rubbing poop together, like is it like a random outcome, or can you control? I guess you'd have to be like a high level. Like,
It's dietary. It's what you eat. That's
oh,
your that's
so
your mana pool basically.
okay. Well, what they eat is your mana pool, or do
Oh,
you
so you
do you rub your poop together?
yeah, I didn't even think about.
I guess, I'm assuming the wizards are stealing other people's poop to give them diseases.
Well, I can see why you would jump to that assumption. I mean, obviously, but
Right? Because I mean that you're limited in your scope of expertise if you're just like I'm only going to drink like veggie shakes all day because then you're limiting your particular class to like a veggie.
you're strictly veg alignment.
Yeah, so I think it would be really good. I mean, I guess this would be a high level thing as well too, is to be able to adapt outside of your realm of comfortability, and some chick or some dude just like has like a protein only diet. They're just eating peanuts and beef jerky all day long. I want to see what that poop looks like if that's the only two things they ever consume.
Peanut brittle.
That's what peanut brittle comes from.
Yeah.
The wizards take the poop and they put it onto
They lacquer it with marshmallow cream.
yeah, exactly, within like a nice brush.
Hmm.
They put it in the freezer, and then they serve it at a party, and then they give somebody like cholera or something because that's what like that's the disease they're going for. It's weird that makes so much sense. Like, I know like we kind of like just BS and like throw things out there, but then when it ends up being like, oh, Neil deGrasse Tyson would be like, yeah, you know,
Yeah.
that encourages me to want to become a scientist. We would turn the world of science on its head.
Follow your dreams, man.
Going for it.
Follow your poop dreams.
Poop Dreams. That's like the sister company to Color Dreams.
Yeah.
They made
It's the sequel to the movie Hoop Dreams, actually.
Hoop Dreams. Wait, Hoop Dreams. Who was in Hoop Dreams?
I want to say Woody Harrelson, but I know that's not right.
That's Whitman Can't Jump. Hoop Dreams. What is the one where Leonardo DiCaprio? Basketball Diaries. Was that it?
Yeah, that's Basketball Diaries.
Okay. Did he eat poop in that movie?
I was thinking about this the other day. There is not enough representation on television of people having to go to the bathroom.
No, it's I remember I got into like a sort of like a discussion with Squeaks at one point because we were watching the movie King Kong and he was like, I don't like how they just captured King Kong and then suddenly he was on the mainland and I was like, well, they put him on the boat. They're like, why didn't they show him on the boat? And I was like, well, because it's implied that they put him on a boat and they drove him to America. And he was getting really mad and I was like, listen, they don't show like Naomi Campbell taking a shit every 12 hours. Like, there's just certain things that they don't do, and it makes me sad because they don't show that. I'm to see if it would be funny if there was like a scene where like they toss King Kong on top of like the smokestacks or whatever, however they transport him, and then like it's a 12-minute scene of Jack Black going to the bathroom and then pulling out his pants, and then just making a big loud 1950s crap. And then he, wipes half.
You can hear like King Kong like roaring and thrashing faintly in the background.
The boat is shaking and like stuff is getting knocked around and he's doing his best because under the circumstances you still have to utilize the utilities.
Right.
Like Dumb and Dumber was the only one, but even that was instigated through some means. They don't show those guys crap during the entire movie other than when X-Lax is present.
Right. They show bathroom scenes when it's convenient to the narrative.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, like, I want to, like, CSI, they're in that lab all day, and no one's just like, oh, man, I got to take a mean shit.
Yeah, yeah. I think it would make me feel you have more empathy with a character. I mean, and that's the big thing is you want to make something likable. You want to make something, you want to understand it. The reason you side with like an animal in like a Disney movie when they have like a cartoon dog or whatever, is because they give him a personality that a human can identify with. And I identify as going to the bathroom because I do it all the time. Like that's more regular to me than speaking with certain friends. And I wanna know, like, whenever Arnold Schwarzenegger in Predator is like, they're getting killed out in the jungle, and he can't not go to the bathroom at some point. you know
Uh-huh.
he's got to, like, find a leaf and then take a hot dump, and the predator like looks over, and suddenly, like, this stuff is just sort of plopping out of nowhere onto the jungle floor.
Yep.
So I think that's an important thing to touch up on. Scott Pilgrim versus the World, you do see him pee because he has a pee meter. Maybe
Yeah.
that's a vehicle for a joke rather than, like, him just, like, I just want a cameraman in the bathroom while somebody's going to the bathroom, and, like, there's literally nothing to it other than he's just like, oh, it feels good.
They don't even have to script it. They can just film the actual actors going to the bathroom, like out of character.
That's true. Their makeup is removed, the mustache is off, the hair, the wig is not on, and then they could just put that into the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's a cinematic metaphor for how we sort of, you have to strip away the persona that you put forth when you have to just do basic human bodily functions. That's you at your rawest.
Yeah. It makes you realize that, like, yeah, everybody shit stinks. That's just the bottom line. TC is saying the boat is smaller than King Kong. So that leads me to the conclusion that they just they just drag him in the water behind them all the way to America. They throw a rope around him. They tie the rope to a hitch on the back of the boat, and they just pull him like he's water skiing on his back. They give him just tons of drugs or whatever.
Apes float.
Yeah.
So what if they just use him as a flotation device?
They put a propeller on him.
Mm-hmm. Like they give him like a grape ape helicopter beanie, and they sort of flick it, and he's drugged and just kind of laying back, and it carries them over the sea.
He's just going forward all the way to America.
Yeah.
That'd be a neat thing. And his wiener would be there too. Like, the first thing you would see would be these 2 feet coming over the horizon line on the water, and then suddenly see this big ape wiener, and then like 15 people just riding on his stomach until he lands at the beach. That's a pretty neat idea.
I've moved a few big apes before. I know how it's done.
Yeah, I've never done one that big, so I'm impressed that you understand.
That's what, like a 36 by a 21. That's like a standard. That's a standard sweet ape. That's how big they make them over there.
That's like a B-level ape, yeah.
Yeah. So you just use some bungee tie downs, and you know.
Okay, that makes sense. I think that's there's a lot of things that Peter Jackson did not consider. Naomi Campbell doesn't go to the bathroom. King Kong, they don't show him, being a vehicle all the way to the mainland. But I also didn't really question it.
I think people trust Peter Jackson to consider these details and just really only give you the information that's pertinent to the action.
I think that, like, they sort of hide it in the background, like when you're watching King Kong perform in the theater, and he's all chained up and he looks really sad. There's a poster on the wall of Naomi Campbell pooping, and you're like, okay, so she did go to the bathroom. Like, they make sure that, like, they throw that in there. It's like a nod to her being a real person.
No, it's you misread the poster. The poster is for the performance of King Kong, but the opening act was Naomi Campbell shitting into a toilet on stage. So she had to hold it in to make sure she could get a command performance.
Because, yeah, if she's not doing her job, okay, that makes more sense then. If she's not doing her job,
she'll get fired.
That's what she's paid to do. Yeah, like she's
got to work the crowd and get them built up for King Kong.
You got to commit to it. And that's what you got to do when you've got a job. I mean, like, you go to work and maybe you broke up with your boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever, but, like, when you've got a job to do, like, that's what you do. That's your thing. And her job is to be an actress, not Naomi Campbell, but, like, whatever the hell her name was in the movie.
Shit Queen.
Shit Queen, right? Her alias. Uh, and
No,
and
that's her given. That's her Christian name.
that's her question. Yes. Is Shit Queen her first name?
Yeah,
What's her middle name?
Alice.
Shit Queen Alice. Okay. She has no last name.
No, it's just like a number. It's like Roman numerals.
Or like when you beat Super Ghouls and Ghosts, and the princess is named like Prin Prin BR 391 or something.
Yeah.
Some sort of obscure like line of code that they gave her. Um, but that's her job, you know. And when you're paid to do something specific, you gotta do your thing. And so she knew, and she's sitting there, you know, like probably gathering all kinds of diseases from keeping this poop in her stomach for like, you know, a week or whatever. And then when time comes to perform, she doesn't let you down.
Yeah,
And
you
that's,
get you come for the ape, but you get there early for the actress defecating on stage.
you know, she's good
It's
at what she does. Yeah,
it's family fun. It's just good, clean family fun.
committed. Because everybody poops. It's not like, you know, you can be like, oh my gosh, Johnny, I don't want you looking at this. But it's like, he's going to do the same thing. Don't be dumb. You know? That's what
Hmm.
people do. That's what people, men, women, name somebody who doesn't do that. You know, I know some people like do it into a bag because like their stomachs don't work or whatever, and they have to like pull it out with tubes and things, and that's unfortunate. But they still do it. They still have to release somehow, put food in your mouth, and it's going to come out in some capacity. So why deny the basic human right to let somebody else see that? You know, hiding a
Yeah.
kid from poop doesn't mean that, you know, oh, she's not pooping. No, he's going to go home and do it himself. You know, talk about like, you know, how you don't want to set an example. You don't want to watch a jackass and then jump into like an airplane propeller because you think it's funny. But if you're trying to prevent somebody from seeing something they're inevitably going to do, why bother?
Yeah. Did you say Dan Rather?
Yeah, Dan Rather once proposed a question to the general public.
Do you remember
Uh,
what the question was?
it was not about poop, unfortunately.
Hmm.
It was about love. What is love? He asked.
Hmm.
And everybody looked at him that day, and they just, you know, sort of,
You have to feel sad for him at that point.
yeah, because he's asking you. He wants an answer. And
Dan Rather doesn't know what love is.
not,
America, tell him.
his experience is very different. You know, to him it's bad. To him it is negative. You know, he saw a pretty girl at the beach, and then he told her something romantic, and she was
Connie
like,
Chung. It was Connie Chung.
I saw Connie Chung, and she was like, get the hell out of here. You know, I'm hanging out with my boyfriend, and he just went home defeated. And it's just like, what did I do? What's the point? That sucks for him. What is your favorite love story in a video game?
Not Braid.
Not Braid.
I don't know. As much as I love Final Fantasy VIII, that's a terrible idea. They should not be together at all.
The reason
They're not good for each other.
that's true. Squall is neither of them are ready. They're both his kids. That is not a good combination. That's going to end poorly. We actually had a theory as to why they ended up getting together, and it was all just a matter of principle. Because you know how like apparently something happened between Cypher and Renoa.
Yeah.
Did they ever go into that?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. So that's why we had to put the pieces together. And the ultimate conclusion was that Squall and Renoa, like, were kind of like, you know, they were light acquaintances. And he only knew Renoa because of Cypher. Okay?
Uh-huh.
And Cypher's experience with Renoa was that at one point he just like put his hand out and grabbed her boob. Silently. Like he didn't say anything and she didn't really respond. That's the extent of the relationship. But like it still kind of made things weird between them. And so the reason Squall wants to get with her is simply because he has something to prove and not because he cares about her. You know, like how sometimes you want to do something just to spite somebody else, or you know, like your mom says don't do that, so like it makes you really want to do that.
Uh-huh.
You know? Like that's all. That's literally the extent of any of the relationship. You know, or maybe he likes her dog and he wants to pet it, but like she won't let him unless they're dating or whatever. Those are two theories, I guess.
Good theories. I don't know. That's a really good question because a lot of love stories in games are extremely lacking. It's just like, oh, you saved me, kiss.
Yeah. Is that that's the ending screen from Kiss Pinball? You saved me, Kiss, and then she kisses all the
Comma, kiss.
numbers. Yeah.
Um,
Story
I
mode.
guess like Waka and Lulu is pretty believable.
Yeah, they're just fun because they don't go into it immediately. Like it's really like this long evolving thing throughout the whole game.
Yeah, and it carries over in two. You know, like oh, they have a kid on the way, and it's kind of believable. You know, they go on this adventure together where everyone's crazy except them. I mean, Lulu's pretty mellow, and Waka's just a little racist, and
Yeah, he does
uh,
hate the Albed. He's just all those faggots, yeah. That's my impression of Waka.
well, what didn't he? I mean, I'm not trying to be a racism apologist here, but didn't he hate them for like some kind of war?
I think they like it was something that happened that killed his brother. Because like his brother was involved with them in some way, and so like the Machina or whatever, um, his brother died, and I think he blamed it on the Albed. Just
Yeah, I mean, it's not rational, but it's not like he's just like, oh, I don't like those people.
yeah, I just all yeah. Their lips look bad, yeah. Yeah, nothing like truly just like they don't like they look funny. Yeah, yeah, he's got a reason at least. um, I haven't been reading all the comments because they keep coming up and I apologize. Um, but it's mostly just sort of miscellaneous conversation kind of stuff that's happening while we're doing this. TC mentioned Tom Brokaw, and there's a radio host here in Albuquerque named the Rain Man, and he actually just switched radio stations, and I'm friends with him on Xbox Live, and his Xbox Live gamer tag is Tom Brokaw. So Tom Brokaw and Gomez Adams hang out together on the internet.
It's weird.
Very good idea. um. Okay, so you'd say Waka and Lulu's are one of your favorites?
It's the only one that's coming to mind right now that's actually like believable and likable.
Hmm. Yeah, I did like that. Because, Titus and Yuna, yeah, that's fine. I wasn't really, like, torn one way or the other by it. It would just sort of happen. I was like, okay, cool. They're doing their thing. But even if Squall and Renoa, like, weren't that great for each other, there were a couple scenes where I really liked the way it played out. Ultimately, it's who knows, but I liked I like the idea of outer space to catch her. Like, it's ridiculous. And it's a very silly, plot movement, but it was fun. It was a fun, take on things because that Final Fantasy really spun a lot of stuff on its head, and I liked that. So for better or worse, I like that they really just tried something very unconventional.
Mm-hmm.
It was very good. What about Ryu and Irene?
Doesn't she die a couple times?
She dies at least once.
So,
You can love somebody and they can die.
That's true, but it's sad. And Ryu's not a very emotionally stable person.
Like when he gets home, like he punches her because she didn't like lay out his ninja gi.
It's possible.
You mean like that?
Yeah.
He freaks out. So he's like he's got borderline where like one moment he's just all, I would do anything for you, and the next moment he is just kicking the shit out of her because like she dropped her fork on the carpet.
Well, he is very emotional like that. I mean, in the game, he's calm and he's calculated, but then there are moments where he's just extremely angry and lashes out.
At her or just in general?
In general.
Okay. That's upsetting. For Irene, that's a really hard bet. She jumped off the cliff. I guess it was an evil Ryu who pushed her.
Yeah.
That's the first evil Ryu. Capcom copied that. They're like, Tecmo has an evil Ryu. Why can't we?
I think at some level every company is copying Tecmo.
That's true. That's true. They're like, let's put boobs in this game because Tecmo did it.
Mm-hmm.
I really like Tecmo.
They're weird.
They are.
But their NES line of sports games is just par excellence.
Yeah, like they were sort of the standard of that era.
Like the wrestling game, you get to like eat food and do like weightlifting,
That's
and
pretty.
then you go wrestling.
I want to go wrestling with Tecmo. Tecmo World Wrestling. I never played their baseball game.
I have it. I just got it recently, but I haven't played it yet either.
Because the baseball game I think I actually preferred the most was RBI baseball.
You know, I was reading an article. ESPN did a list of like the 25 most influential sports games of all time,
Oh,
and RBI I think was like one of the top three.
it was just so great. It was so simple.
And they were talking about how like if you talk to pro baseball players today,
Mm-hmm.
that's the game they played. Like, and a couple teams actually have Nintendos in their clubhouses set up with RBI baseball. They're just like,
That's really cool, actually. So I'm going to tell you something. So Rusty's Real Deal Baseball was not just a great game, but it
froze John.
did something. I froze me?
Yeah, it froze you.
Oh, that's scary. It made me go to the batting cages, right?
Yeah, I read that.
So I went and I just hit baseballs for like 30 minutes, and I was like, this is really fun. And like, I was doing good for a while, then I did really bad. But I loved it. And then my cats actually destroyed my hand. You can't see it all, but like I got a really bad cat bite, like on both sides of my thumb, so like it sucks to do that. And so hitting a baseball and like feeling the aluminum rattle my body feels bad, so I'm gonna hold off for a bit. But I went and bought a baseball glove today, and I'm gonna go to the driving range with my dad, you know, and I've been feeling really, really, really active and like outdoorsy, and I've been going to the gym every single day this week, and like it's just something about that game made me realize that like, you know, the way they spun it, the way Iwata spun it during the Nintendo Direct when they first announced it was, we want to really emphasize the good feeling that you get when you hit the baseball just right, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately, it's cool because that is kind of like the core essence of what makes anything good, is when you sort of, you have the glow, you know, you hit that like that moment, that special, you know, the connect, you know, when you throw the football and it spirals perfectly, or like, you know, you kick the soccer ball and it goes right over the goalie's head or whatever, or when you hit golf and you just feel it just go and you're like, wow, like there's something about that. And games have that sort of feeling as well too, and sometimes when you're just in the zone, like, and you just nail it, whether it's a fighting game or, you know, a platformer, or, you know, anything that just things are going smoothly and you're really feeling your connection, like it's whatever you're doing is just an extra limb on your body, and you have that much more control over it. And so I started craving that, you know, from everything, whether it's in art, and sometimes I feel like I'm just in the art zone, and sometimes I go, you know, hit the baseball, or I do a good catch and a good throw, or, you know, throw the frisbee and it just levels out completely. And that's the feeling that you want from anything.
Yeah, I think that's why I kind of like basketball in terms of just like casual sports.
Yeah.
Because out of everything, I think that's the ease. It's you're not going to do it every time, but if you go to the basketball court and you shoot hoops for like 15 minutes,
Yeah.
you're going to get a swish. You're going to just shoot it perfectly, and it's going to make that sound.
Yeah. It just feels good. You're like, the ball is just barely smaller than that hole, and it didn't hit that rim at all.
Yeah.
That's a good feeling. Yeah. It is fun. It is fun. And, you know, so now I want to get into that. Or bowling, you know, you hit a strike. Tennis, you hit the ball and you're just like, oh, that was the perfect, like, everything.
Mm-hmm.
The noise that it made, like the angle that it flew at. Just, I want that, you know, from video games or things that I do. That's like kind of like the satisfaction that I want to give to people, you know, when I'm doing stuff for them. And it's a little bit different when you're sort of giving that to somebody, but you want them to have that experience for themselves. So I guess recommending a good game for somebody, or, you know, like hanging out with someone and doing something fun, and you can achieve that sort of thing together is kind of where it's at. Or like today, I went running. Well, I guess I was on the elliptical, and I hit a mile in under 6 minutes. And I was just like, I was in the zone, and I just felt really good. And I was like, I don't do this ever. So it also really inspires me as well too, because you're like, if I can do it once, absolutely I can do it again. And then of course, the more you do it, the more often those kinds of things happen. So
Yeah.
I like that. It made me feel good. I wanna expand my horizons and get into all kinds of things. I want to plant gardens, and I want to, you know,
I like how the core message of like the last 5 minutes of this conversation is that you feel good when you succeed at things.
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
When I'm good at something, I feel great.
Yeah, I feel great when something goes my way. I love it. I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna sleep with my
wife.
That is the feeling that you want from everything. So for you, what is one of the most satisfying games to play?
In terms of like that feeling,
Sure.
It's weird because like in terms of that feeling, it's got to be a fighting game that I'm not great at.
Mhm.
Like when I'm online and I play like a really good round of like Street Fighter 4 or Marvel vs. Capcom 3 against an opponent that's better than me, but I just play a really solid, good decision round, like I feel super pumped.
I love
And
that.
games that I'm much better at than the average player, games like Virtua Fighter and Beat Mania, things that kind of are challenging to me but also come easily to me.
Yeah.
That feeling is kind of more long term, like it's more inactive, it's passive.
Sure.
I think like, oh, like I'm really good at that game and that makes me feel good. But when I'm playing it, I'm more pushing myself than kind of sort of reveling in that feeling of success.
So suppose like with like a single player game, would you say you feel that same kind of feeling the moment you've been like say struggling with like a level or a boss or something for days or years or months or whatever it is, and then like you just try it and you just nail everything, the jump, the attack, like you do it all the way it's supposed to be done?
No, for me that really only comes in a single player game if it's like if I get a couple tries at a level and it doesn't go well for me, but it happens early enough that it's not just like mechanical, like the 300th time I've tried to get all the gold bars on this Bit Trip Runner level.
Sure,
It's gotta
okay.
be like the 6th or 7th try where I'm just in the zone, I'm nailing it. I think games like racing games kind of give me that feeling really well because if you just make a perfect turn,
Mhm.
like it gives you that surge of adrenaline, like oh my god, I have to do that like 4 more times,
Yeah,
and I'm
suddenly-
gonna have like the best time.
yeah. Okay. I like it. I like it. Milholland says that Tim Rogers has an article about this kind of stuff in game. Article on types of friction. Basketball swish is an example. Okay, so that actually might be something kind of fun to check out. Tim Rogers, a guest editor for Kotaku, who's a pretty funny guy, writes a lot of really interesting, lengthy stuff. That might be kind of fun to check out. But yeah, there's a satisfaction that these things provide that's exciting, you know. But I agree with you fully to where it's not like if you're playing trials and you're just having like good run after good run, it's like okay, this feels good. But if you're doing like an extreme course and you've like died 300 times, and at that point it really becomes muscle memory. And when you finally do it, like there is a satisfaction, but it's not the same kind of like feel good as like I did this. It just sort of like I've tried this 100 times and I finally lucked out.
Yeah, when you get to that point, you're like, okay, I deserve that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not like, ooh, wow, I'm really good. It's like, no, I worked hard, and this is just sort of the analog of like, it's too literal to feel good.
Yeah. That's fair. That's fair. That's a good assessment. I like it. So this has been a pretty good conversation so far. We've had a lot of good stuff.
Yeah.
What big news? Oh, Sunset Overdrive was announced.
Yeah.
Well, I guess detailed today, some gameplay. Xbox One exclusive from Insomniac, which is kind of interesting. So that's actually one of the hats that I have that Microsoft gave me for giving out. So now that actually has like a little bit more buzz behind it, I might do something on the Facebook page. Give away some more freebies because I still got a couple things lying around.
Nintendo announced kind of a new console in their earnings call this afternoon.
Oh yeah, this is a really interesting couple days for Nintendo. Actually, they talked about more losses. Unfortunately, I guess the Wii U is now selling at a profit, but they've still had overall company losses as a whole, third year in a row.
Yeah.
So I'm really curious to see what their plan is at E3, what they're announcing. I guess they spent, what, $150 million in some sort of tech, is what I understand?
Yeah. So what we know is that this new console is, and I don't know what this means for America and Japan and Europe and Australia and everywhere else, but this new console is designed for emerging markets, namely China, because it's now legal to sell consoles in China for the first time in almost 15 years.
Yeah.
So they're targeting China, and the only things that they really said were, we're not doing smartphones, and it doesn't make financial sense to repackage an existing console for the Chinese market.
Okay.
So they're introducing something new made for China. We don't know what it's going to do as far as the rest of the world is concerned. And the other thing that we know that's going to kill you and your wallet is that they are doing the Nintendo figurine Skylanders.
Yeah, like they're just all, hey, John, do you want to buy 20 more shelves for a bunch of Mario figures that are cross-compatible between games? And it's like, yeah, of course I'm going to. Damn it. So, and then they're going to do variants. And they're going to be like, oh, get the Lucky Metal Mario, figure that you can put into, the next Yoshi's Island or whatever they're going to do. I'm really curious to see what this is going to mean. And I was kind of actually hoping they would do this sooner because I thought about, like when they announced NFC for the Wii U. But now that it's confirmed that it's going to happen between Wii U and 3DS, I'm just like, all right, fine, I'll, not like I wasn't going to, but.
Think about this. I want you to please think about this.
Okay.
They're probably going to wind up looking like Smash Brothers trophies.
Yeah, I know, and like they're going to be like, oh, hey, Smash Brothers has 600 trophies. How would you like to own all of them physically? And I'd be like, ugh.
How would you like them to all be playable in a Smash Brothers game?
See, if they do that, if they're like, here, this is. Yeah, for Smash Brothers Wii U and 3DS, if the way that they release the new characters, they say, hey, go buy the Wonder Red figure, from your local GameStop or Toys R Us, come home, and then boom, you've got it for both versions. And if that's the way they get around DLC, it's like if you own this figure, boom, you get the character. And then they said that the characters are going to have rewritable data as well too in them. So theoretically, if you have and this could just be like just a fun bonus, like you write the figures data in your Mario for Smash Brothers on the Wii U, and then you can scan them into 3DS. I know you can just connect the two systems and do it that way, but this is still kind of a fun thing. You could bring your Mario to somebody's house and be like, look what I got, you stupid idiot. I don't have a 3DS, but I've got my Mario with me, and he's got this fireball, so screw you, creepo.
I think it would be really great if this became sort of like, I know this isn't going to happen, but if this became like a physical virtual console. NES games do not take a lot of space.
Oh, no, not at all.
you could tuck them into little Ice Climber and Wrecking Crew figures and just sort of like, that's your cart. You just sort of scan them in. And you can even make like, I know I'm getting ahead of myself by a wide margin here, but you could make NES remix stuff by like the Skylanders Swap Force principles, where you just take like an Ice Climber and a Birdo, and then you have Ice Climbers in Mario 2.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so mad. I'm so upset because whatever they do, I'm buying it. Like it's for me, it's
right. So it's just in your best interest for it to be as amazing as possible.
Yeah. It could be even just like this unlocks a Mario art gallery in the new Mario game, and that's fine. But if they could go in depth with this and do something that really, you buy a Samus figurine, oh, boom, here's a copy of Super Metroid for your virtual console, Fine, Nintendo. Yes, I guess I'll do that. Yeah, I'd be okay with that. I'd be 100% okay with that. And I guess we'll see at E3 what they end up doing, because if they're going to have more details on this, well, find out then. Ugh. So, they showed a trophy of Wonder Red on the Smash Brothers website.
Yeah.
Now, showing a trophy doesn't mean that he's not playable. It doesn't mean he is playable. But what is your interpretation of this?
They've shown trophy pictures in the past for previous games, and they're just trophies.
True, but in most cases they also go out of their way to say, oh, here's Dylan, he's an assist trophy. Oh, here's Majora, Skull Kid, he's an assist trophy. Oh, here's, Bullet Bill, it's an item. And so I find it funny that they say, here's this character, but it's on a trophy stand when we haven't said anything either way. you know. And so I'm curious, and I don't necessarily think that it means that Wonder Red's a playable character, but it's funny because it's so inconclusive that, like, you know, if they were to announce a character in an oddball way like that, and like, you know, in a week we have a trailer for Wonder Red as playable, you know, who knows? But correct me if I'm wrong. Nintendo owns the IP Wonderful 101. It was just produced by Platinum, if I'm not mistaken. You know, if this is the case.
Not sure.
So I believe that the game is considered a Nintendo franchise, but fully Platinum developed. Just Nintendo owns the IP. So, who knows? Who knows?
That reminds me that Harmonix has a Kickstarter up.
Yep.
For a reboot of Amplitude, and it's not going to succeed. I hate to say it, but they're asking for too much money, and they only gave themselves 18 days to raise $750,000.
That's interesting. I didn't actually check out the details. I just saw they announced that, and I was like, this will probably do fine, but I didn't realize what they were asking her.
They addressed both of these things in the campaign. They mentioned that that's pretty much how much they need on a base level to fail on the project. Like, if they get that much money, then they can take the risk.
Okay.
If they get more, then it's kind of more of a guaranteed thing. But if that's the bare minimum they can take.
It's a funny idea, take the risk, when they're like, we just owned the best music series in history, you know, the most successful music games ever to be released on consoles, you know, but we might not have enough money to do this remake of a game we've done.
Yeah. Well, they go into that as well, because Amplitude is a Sony IP.
Oh, okay.
So they have to convince Sony it's a good idea. And the weird thing the weirdest thing out of everything, though, is that since it's only an 18-day campaign, it's a really weird number for a Kickstarter. And it just seems like really rushed bad timing, because their answer is that that's the maximum amount of time they have before they need to start assigning people to other projects. So if they can get the money, then the core Amplitude team is going to be there to do Amplitude, but they have to, like, make this judgment call by, like, the third week of May as to where everyone's going to be working for the rest of the year. And so if Amplitude doesn't have the money, then they need to reassign the workforce.
Interesting.
So why don't you announce your Kickstarter sooner?
Yeah. Yeah, that is weird timing. What do you think? 60 days would have been good? A month? Just a straight-up actual month?
Your standard Kickstarter campaign is like 30 to 45 days, and I think that would have been enough. I mean, Shaq Fu 2 is another Kickstarter, and that raised $500,000 basically.
Yeah.
In like 2 months.
Yeah.
So trying to get $750,000 for Amplitude in less than 3 weeks just seems kind of cruel.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Well, I'm curious to see what happens, see how it does, see what they say if it doesn't hit goal. Speaking of Shaq Fu, that game, whenever I see it, all I see is Street Fighter 4. Like, from like the UI and everything is like, you know, big black brush splatters and
yeah, everything's very yellow and orange. I see that. I totally get that.
Interesting, like, color scheme and like just overall aesthetic makes me think of Street Fighter 4 very heavily. You know, they don't use like a lot of harsh blacks for the game. It's only for like UI stuff.
Yeah.
I'm excited to check it out though.
It'll be interesting.
Yeah, you know, just it's a beat 'em up, right? That's all. They're not even selling like a fighting game at this point. Just like it's a beat 'em up.
I think the intention is for them to have sort of like a two-player, I guess, a classic. Think Turtles in Time. It's a beat 'em up, but there is that two-player mode where you fight against each other.
Larry Bird.
What?
It better be Larry Bird as a player too.
No, I don't think Shaq and Bird ever.
They didn't, but that's all I'm saying is, like, you know, you have like this polarity that needs to exist.
I see where you're going with this.
I don't know, MCA from Beastie Boys. I mean, like, that's.
I think they should have the entire NBA on TNT panel. I think you should be able to pick from Shaq, Kenny the Jet, and Charles Barkley.
Barkley would be good. Sean Kemp.
Sure.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. P-Funk.
P-Funk?
All I'm going down is like just thinking of all the NBA Jam.
Yeah.
I used to play as. Okay. But I don't think they hit like the full like stretch goal, but they're still doing all like the stretch goal consoles anyway.
Which is smart because their plan was just 360 and PS3.
Hmm.
And this game still has dev time to go through, and by the time it comes out, like I'm already, what game was it? I was rocking past a red box, and it was like a licensed movie game, I think, for something that came out recently. Spider-Man 2, only on 360 and PS3.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's already. I'm thinking like that's a bad idea. Why are you doing that?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sure it'll get upscaled and ported later, but then by then, who's going to be interested?
Yeah, especially with the way the reviews have been going for that game. So, makes me sad. I was thinking about, like, the other day, I loved Spider-Man 2 on, like, the 6th gen or whatever it was, you know, like PS2 and GameCube and stuff. I don't know if you ever played that one. And I played the original Spider-Man. It was fine. And then number 2, when they could just, like, you could just, like, sling webs to, like, whatever you want. You're just like, oh, there's a building, oh, there's a tree, and then like, you're suddenly just hanging between these two things, and you can sort of swing back and forth and then slingshot yourself around. And it had this mechanic. It was almost Bionic Commando-like in terms of, I don't even care what I'm doing. I love playing this.
Yeah.
You know, and I really liked that. And I don't even know where the other games went after this point because I kind of stopped playing. I was thinking they're all going to sort of be the same. But I hear this new one isn't so good. I heard it's really just sort of sloppily put together, but I haven't played it, so I can't say anything. I've just seen that the general consensus is not so good. We'll see. Oh no! What if they release Hyrule Warriors, and they release like a Zelda figure lineup of all these playable characters? Because you know, like how Dynasty Warriors games are like, oh, do you want to play as like 80 different people? Here you go. You know, and then if you want to play as 8-bit Link, buy the 8-bit Link figure. Oh.
I think it's too early for that. I think you can dodge that bullet.
But I'm hoping that's apparently released in Japan this summer.
Yeah.
Not too far off. I wonder when North America will be.
Probably December.
Mean thing to say, but you're probably right. Well, do you think they're going to want to take the steam out of the sales of Smash Brothers? I guess I don't know. I don't know what their fall lineup is going to be, but I guess because they said Iwata was saying that now that the Wii U is turning profit, the focus is on a lot more games, which obviously has to happen because, you know, everybody's still kind of upset at the overall lack of titles. Though by the same token, you know, like, there's nothing I care about on the Xbox One until the new Batman, you know. Like, there's like 2 games this year for the Xbox One that I'm like, oh, hey, neat. And that's Batman, Metal Gear, so...
We're in that period. The Wii U doesn't have an excuse. The Wii U doesn't have an excuse because it's been out for a long time. We're in that period where the launch titles are out, and it's going to be a year before the other really must-own games start coming for the Xbox One and the PS4.
Yeah.
So Nintendo is really killing themselves by not having a killer lineup out right now.
Right now, yeah. I know Mario Kart's going to be huge, but is it huge enough in between, like, with Mario Kart now and Smash Brothers way down the line, you know, because they've got Hyrule Warriors, which I think will be fine, but I don't think it's going to be an amazing seller. Bayonetta 2, same story. It's a very niche market, you know, whereas Mario Kart and Smash are like their 2 mass market audience games.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it would be in their best interest to really find some stuff that's going to be like, you know, I don't care if we have to rehash an old IP like crazy, you know, whatever's going to get people to buy this. You know, I don't know what other plans they have, and I'm hoping at E3 they really announce like some huge killer stuff that people go, oh Jesus, okay, you know, you've convinced me.
Yeah.
You know, because the 3DS I know had the same sort of situation where it really took a while to pick up momentum, and it did. But I think the best thing that they could do at this point is announce like Pokemon Online for the Wii U or something, and say, okay, you know.
Well, I was reading, I'd forgotten about this, it kind of slipped through the cracks, but the Pokemon fighting game.
Oh, right, I forgot about that. Yeah, they
filed the trademarks in Europe.
Right.
So that's on the way, and they showed, like, you get to see a small glimpse of it in, like, one of the promotional videos at Tokyo Game Show last year.
Yeah, yeah.
It looks very much like it was like Power Stone.
Yeah,
which is a great idea for a Pokemon fighting game.
phenomenal, because then you don't have to focus on making a fighting game proper the way you would Street Fighter and throwing out this balance. You just say, this is a party fighting game, you know, and you can throw in tons of huge Pokemon in there and not be as, worried about like this fine-tuned balance the way a normal fighting game might require.
Pokken. I like that it's called Pokken too.
But what if it's developed by Namco?
Great.
Yeah, I know. This would be a really good thing.
Everything they've showed me with Smash 4 gives me the utmost. Like, Namco and Nintendo have been working so well together for 10 years now.
Yeah.
And the more things they do together, the better. They made Star Fox good again. They helped with F-Zero GX.
People will might not necessarily agree with you, but I love this Star Fox. I love Star Fox Assault.
It's a really when you're in the R-Wing, it's one of the best Star Fox experiences.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunately just bogged down by a lot of lengthy on-foot sequences.
That's true. I actually even liked the foot missions, but they were a little bit long. But
that's the real complaint, because I started playing it again. I'm like, man, this game is beautiful. It's super fun and responsive and fast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then you get on foot and you're like, okay, I get it. It's not Star Fox, but it's not bad.
Yeah.
And then I'm on the same level for like 45 minutes, and I'm like, okay, no, this
I
is.
agree with that. It is too long on the on-foot missions. That makes sense. The multiplayer was a blast in that game, and I'm actually really sad they took out the LAN feature, because that was a game that they displayed at like E3 2003 2004 when they were really emphasizing the LAN for the GameCube. And I remember playing it there, and they had 4 systems set up, and like Falco is riding around on like the wing of Star Fox's R-Wing, shooting Peppy with cannons and stuff, and I was like, this is great. And the multiplayer still ended up being good, but it was sad to forsake what could have been a really great feature.
I'm sure the code's still in there.
Probably, yeah. I'd suck to put that much effort into it and then just kill it entirely, but yeah, maybe somebody's found it. I haven't looked into that.
I don't think so. I haven't heard anything about that recently.
But I really like the multiplayer in that game, and there's a lot of levels to unlock, and being able to jump on one R-Wing either by choice and fight with them, or jump on their R-Wing in a different manner and then just shoot them in the face while they're trying to fly around was super fun.
Here's why I don't understand the on-foot missions. It's both why I don't understand the on-foot missions and why I don't understand the criticism of Star Fox Assault.
Sure.
The team that Namco assigned to Star Fox Assault
yeah.
was Project Aces.
Yeah.
Who, and I don't care, like, Ace Combat games are stupid fun.
Yeah.
They are a blast. And it's just really simple. I mean, it feels intimidating because it's all like, they're all like Fox 1, and saying all these, like, you got to get the E-Wax, but it's a really fun, simple game. And shooting a plane out of the sky with another plane is just something that it's a given, like, ooh, like, that feels good.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, they picked a really good team for that. I'm very happy. It's like the decision to pick, the Tekken team to help produce Smash Brothers. Get somebody who has experience in a similar market and say, do what you do well, but make it Nintendo still.
Yeah.
And that's a really fun philosophy. And God bless Namco for having good teams that are willing to come in and do that kind of stuff with Nintendo, because it seems like that would be like an honor. I mean, even Hideki Kamiya at Platinum, he would love to do anything with a Nintendo franchise. He's mentioned Star Fox several times, and I would be floored to see what they would do with a Star Fox game, because it would redefine everything that series stands for, I'm sure.
Namco has a lot of teams in place that would be great fits for cooperating with Nintendo franchises.
Yeah.
I mean, you could put Klonoa with Mario, but you don't really need to. Nintendo hasn't really biffed up that franchise.
Yeah, they're pretty solid.
If you wanted to complicate Zelda and make it a really sort of like satisfying high learning curve experience, Project Soul, working on a Zelda game, would be great.
Yeah, have a really in-depth combat engine for Link's weapons.
Yeah.
Do something really fun for the fighting mechanic in the Zelda games.
Basically take the Skyward Sword Motion Plus idea and put it in a more game-friendly package.
Sure.
Something that's easier to consistently use.
Yeah.
Obviously, Project Ace is for Star Fox. Tekken team for Smash Bros. Even something like I don't know which team they put on F-Zero GX for Triforce, but like
Yeah.
if the Ridge Racer team worked on F-Zero, I would love to see some high-speed drift mechanics in F-Zero.
I'm glad you said Ridge Racer because I was thinking pole position. It didn't even. I was like, what racing games has Namco done? Oh, that one, well, and then yours was a lot more modern, but yeah, like take some really great simulation parts. It'd be a lot of fun to see what those companies would do. What is Nagoshi doing these days? Because like, is he just still doing the Yakuza games?
He did something else. Binary Domain?
Yeah, and I think that was like the last big thing that he worked on that was not Yakuza, because that series is still going apparently pretty strong at this point.
I saw Yakuza $10 and I didn't get it.
Oh.
Should I have gotten it? Is that a good price? Because they seem to be very expensive games. They don't seem to go down in price.
No, because they get hard to come by for some reason. Like they're limited releases, and then they stay around the same price for quite some time. And then we never see them. Like I almost never see Yakuza games. The last one I saw was probably Yakuza 2, like a year and a half ago. We almost ever get them traded in.
So I'm looking at his credits right now, and he most recently worked on Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games.
Nagoshi?
He did. He was the executive supervisor for the Sochi one.
Okay.
He was chief producer for Sonic Lost World.
I did not know that.
He was executive producer for the Jet Set Radio port.
Okay.
And he was chief producer of Sonic Generations.
Good job on that, Nagoshi.
And before that was Yakuza 5.
Okay. Okay. Not too shabby. So he's still been doing, I guess,
his list is impressive. I think if you had to look at this and pick the worst game on here, it's probably Sonic Free Riders.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that guy's been involved with a lot of really solid stuff. I mean, like the first thing I think I knew him for was Monkey Ball. If I'm not mistaken.
That's correct.
You're starting with that right out of the gate. It was just like, oh man, well you've got a pretty good future ahead of you.
He did 4 things before Super Monkey Ball. He was the chief designer of Virtual Racing.
Okay.
He was a voice actor in Burning Rival.
That's funny.
And he got special thanks for Daytona USA, probably for the Virtual Racing engine.
Sure.
And he was a supervisor for Shenmue.
Okay. Okay. If Nintendo had to give Nagoshi another franchise, because I guess Miyamoto said that he wasn't as impressed with GX, which is really shocking to me. Maybe it's jealousy because that is hands down, I think, the best F-Zero. And most fans, I think, would contend to that as well too. What would you want Nagoshi to work on next if you had to choose another franchise?
This is going to be super high concept, but I would like to see something kind of like Yakuza, but Punch-Out, where you kind of have to, it's like Shenmue style, where you have to be like Little Mac as he's on the streets, probably like working some shitty job, like to get started, and you have to be in his life, you have to train, and then like every once in a while, like Doc will get you a fight, so you have to be ready for the fight, but you have to still balance the other aspects of your life until you get recognized enough to just be a full-time boxer.
All I want is a Punch-Out simulator like this now. This is my second most wanted fantasy game of all time. Anything with Punch-Out.
And maybe like you see Mr. Sandman on the streets, and he's like a crime lord, and so he tries to his gang tries to beat you up, and you have to fight them off so you don't get hurt too bad before your big fight against Grand Tiger.
That's all I want. That's all I want. You've sold me. You've sold me.
I think it'd be really cool to just have a really gritty boxing game like that.
It would be cool because what I think of when you say that is you've seen the Rocky movies, right?
Yeah.
When he's just walking downtown Philadelphia and there's train tracks above and he's just a young guy and his trainer is this crusty old man who's wants to take him on and make something out of him. And Little Mac's got the determination. He's got the heart. It's a very Rocky-inspired story. You know, that's the whole point of it. But you know, what is Mac's origin? What is his past? You know, why does he have a family? Is he an orphan? Like, you know, what has he got in his life? Because you know they portray him as just this kid who's got nothing but boxing. You know, he presumably goes to the gym 7 days a week and like, you know, does this training with Doc. But fleshing it out and making it like an in-depth world would be kind of fun for Mac.
Yeah.
You know, I hope he meets the gross doppelganger Mac from Super Punch-Out. You remember when they put him in like it was like Knockout Kings like 2003 or something, or Fight.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Whatever that was, and he just looked like a dude with a Down syndrome. Because like they tried to copy his Super Nintendo look onto like a real boxer, and it just looked awful.
I always thought he sounded like Michael J. Fox.
I don't remember his voice in the game. I just remember what he looked like. And I remember thinking it was disgusting.
I think that could be like a good like rival story because Mac doesn't really. He would be like another up and comer.
Yeah, like Tommy Gunn,
Yeah.
except for much more satisfying than Rocky V.
And just oh man, I'm just picturing like the end of this game where like you finally get there and you're in the ring with Mr. Dream and it's just like a packed crowd.
Oh yeah,
Everyone's going like nuts.
yeah. I mean, because you start off in like your little apartment or whatever, and you've got nothing going on. Like, you know, you have a couch and your lights are barely on, and then when like you finally, you know, get like the big ticket and you get to like, you know, ride like in the limo down to like the big stadium, and like they've got every promoter and everybody's there, and you know, some of the other boxers are even in the audience sort of watching or something, and some are booing at you and some are hissing and some are like, you know what, yeah, this kid earned it or whatever, and just to make you feel like you are part of that. There's a satisfaction in watching the Rocky movies and seeing somebody succeed and putting you in that position as,
Like
you know,
they could make that whole fight like that. That could be just like an ending cutscene. Like you could just not do that fight.
yeah,
You like put all like those hours of work into the game and just see Mac like going toe to toe with Mr. Dream, like fighting for his life.
yeah,
And you
Yeah.
just like you'd have like that. There's this weird phenomenon where like I don't even if you're not really into like sports movies, if you're just in tune with the human spirit, if you're not into sports at all, I mean, like if you watch a sports movie, like there's always that moment at the end where you realize it could go either way,
yeah,
and like that's one of the most exhilarating feelings I ever have watching movies.
yeah. It's,
Like Rocky, and even like historical ones like Miracle, cool runnings, even like stuff like that where you just get to that precipice of like supreme success or abject failure,
yeah.
and it's really exciting.
And the best part in the world that like they do that make these movies so good, so like intense and so just like, you know, holy crap, like you can feel them pushing, is they don't always win. Like
Right.
one of the best parts about those movies is when they put something out there and you've established your relationship with this character for an hour and a half, and they don't do it.
Yep.
You know, like sometimes like they try their hardest and it doesn't happen, but you don't feel as if they have failed. You don't feel as if their effort has gone to waste.
Right.
Cool to be able to put that element, yeah, into that situation, into that story. All I want is a new Punch-Out. Mad. Well, when I go to E3, I'm gonna find Nagoshi and I'm gonna threaten him. So if they make a new one, then I'll tell them that you inspired it, and then
Yeah.
me.
I just need. I don't have any practical skills, but if they want to bring me on as like a consultant, I feel like I can steer that game in the right direction.
Yeah, that's. Oh man. And like, I hate when we talk about stuff like this because then I'm just gonna go out there and like, out of all the games I own, I don't have that.
Right.
You know, like, I guess I could go play, you know, F-Zero GX or Monkey Ball 2 or something stupid.
Like all these great games that are timeless. It's like, ugh.
Yeah,
I'm gonna get my dream game.
X. Ooh. Yeah. Damn it. That's a great idea, though. I really like the idea of, you know, because then you're taking a formula, you know, for a game that is largely the same to the whole series. You know, all three games are just fight the boxer, punch, story element of him chasing after Doc for training, and that's cool. But to get to flesh out an old Nintendo character.
Here's the thing. What if you don't change the Punch-Out formula? What if the training that you do leading up to each fight is like subtly reinforcing the patterns that boxer is going to use, but you have to be really tuned in to like recognize the signals? So the fights themselves are still pattern based.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
But if you lose them, you lose them. Like that's the story progresses.
Yeah.
You don't just get to like reset and try again. Like, so if you're doing the training and you're paying attention, you're not just being mechanical about it. And Doc will like have you do like a certain punch combination like a couple times, and that's the key you need to open up that boxer and start winning the fight.
Yeah. That would be great. It reminds me of Karate Kid, where Mr. Miyagi is like, hey, do the wax on, wax off kind of thing, and Daniel's like, I just want to learn karate, and then like Mr. Miyagi starts attacking him, and Daniel's like, whoosh, 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 and you're like, oh, like he washed his car and learned how to block an attack, and like,
Right.
it's that same kind of, I'm training you in a way that you don't expect.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
God, now I want to play this game so bad.
I know, I do. And maybe like the more you train, so like say you're
Like, the more telegraphed it becomes.
yeah, exactly, like it's a little bit more clear, or like their punches come out a little bit slower because you've really like attuned yourself. Michael, damn, I'm too depressed. I don't want to talk about this anymore. I want to talk about something else because that's great. That's a great idea. So with E3 right around the corner, I mean, because we're about like a month out at this point from the big show. Nintendo's discussed a little bit of what they're going to do right now. We know next to nothing from Microsoft and Sony, which I assume is going to be like decent software lineups. We'll see some good stuff, I'm sure. What do you think they're going to announce? A new God of War, I think a new Halo has sort of been hinted at recently. Like that wasn't a surprise to anybody. But what do you?
I think they're going to show Halo 2 CE and then tease Halo 5.
Halo 2 CE will get you into like the Halo 5 beta or something.
Probably.
Yeah.
It's got to be really hard for Sony and Microsoft because their software library is so similar. It's got to be really like Nintendo not being there is like to kind of really reinforcing that fact.
Yeah. Basically, there's like we've got our Gran Turismo. Oh, we got our Forza. Cool. We've got our Halo. Oh, Yeah.
I think the focus this year is going to be stables of indie developers. I think each company is going to kind of come out and show you're going to see some traditional stuff. You're probably going to see Little Big Planet 3.
Yeah.
You're probably going to see I would not be surprised to see a new no, that's not right.
Gears of War?
I don't expect Gears of War. No, I don't think that's gonna happen.
I'd love to see what that game looks like on an Xbox One.
I think they're gonna wait until the show that they're working on, and then use that as a run-up into the next Gears of War game.
Okay.
Obviously, you're gonna see Call of Duty. They're gonna show off. Man,
Right.
Advanced Warfare that makes me want to get back into playing Call of Duty. I'm not even kidding. That game looks good.
All I know is Kevin Spacey.
Have you watched the trailer?
I have not yet.
Watch the trailer. It is intense.
I'll certainly check it out.
It's still a little plasticky, like that kind of Call of Duty feel.
Yeah.
But it looks entertaining, and this is Sledgehammer's first full outing with the franchise. I know they've made a couple games in the past, but they're kind of not notable, if I recall.
Oh, so this isn't like Call of Duty from the two teams, the traditional teams.
Right. Sledgehammer helped Infinity Ward do the multiplayer for Modern Warfare 3 once Infinity Ward kind of splintered. And so their job is more or less has been to flesh out the multiplayer of the Call of Duty games.
Okay.
So the companies can kind of focus on their flavor and so they're as a studio, they've done Modern Warfare 3 and Advanced Warfare. That's it. That's all Sledgehammer has done.
Okay, so this will be a lot of fun for them to do because like they sort of got their foot in the door, and now they're getting the chance to like take on like a major title.
Yeah, the people behind Sledgehammer were the creators of Dead Space.
Oh, perfect. Okay, cool.
And they were brought on, and this was kind of the initial tease, was that they were gonna Treyarch was gonna do the more historical kind of stuff, which stopped being the case with Black Ops 2 when they went full on future, and that Infinity War was gonna be modern warfare, and that Sledgehammer was gonna do this future concept. And the trailer just looks really. I mean, it's all like scripted scenes for the most part, but it looks good, and I'm interested to see how it plays out.
So, do you remember how like a long time ago Nintendo had like this partnership with like EA Big, and they were putting their Nintendo characters into all kinds of their sports games?
Yeah.
You know, NBA Street Volume 3 and SSX 3 and all that kind of stuff. Little Mac in Fight Night. What if there were a mission in a Wii U version of the new Call of Duty where they had Advance Wars characters? An Advance Wars mission that you had to do, and you could have like Andy and like all those. He's the only one I remember. I was so bad at those games.
Why isn't there a TF2 style Advanced Wars first-person party shooter for the Wii U?
I would play it.
Like they can make it like Command and Conquer. Renegade? I think it's Renegade, where it's like instead of like building the base, the focus is more on running the base, and you have to actually get into. It's kind of like Battlezone, where you could be a foot soldier, you could get into a tank and drive off, you could get into a plane and attack the enemy, but it was like a big like 6-on-6 battle. So it'd be like Battalion Wars, but with a bit less unit management.
I would play that. I still think about your idea all the time of the Battalion Wars Wii U edition, where you have like players and then like a commander.
Yeah.
Battle commander, and I love that idea. I wish.
And they did kind of wind up using that for Battlefield 4. They have a commander position where if you have a tablet, you don't even have to have your console connected. You can just use your tablet, and you get put in as this like 7th spot on the team, and you do like supply drops and like airstrikes and do radar scans for your team, and you get like experience based on how effective that is for your side of the battle.
That's pretty fun.
But yeah, I still think about that Battalion Wars idea too, because that's
a lot of potential.
I need to like make a highlight reel from these talks and just start sending it to companies.
Yeah, you'd be like, listen. So would you still want? Okay, going back to the Punch-Out thing. You have this Shenmue Yakuza style feel. Would you still want co-development with like next level games?
Oh yeah, no, they have to be. They would probably handle the actual boxing matches themselves because the game needs to feel the fighting needs to feel like Punch-Out.
It needs to feel like Punch-Out 100%.
But it needs to be a more full. Like it needs to have meat on the bone.
Yeah, certainly.
Punch-Out is a delicious big cartoon dog bone.
Oh, it's
and I'm proposing we wrap it in a nice prehistoric beef.
Packaging. I love the idea of a game of a character who's getting like a much more fleshed out experience. Kind of like what they did with Kid Icarus Uprising. You have 2 games for 20 years, and suddenly a third one, and that expands the universe. Crazy, huge, fun. Fleshes out everything. And Punch-Out, I mean, literally, like there's almost nothing to the story of it. And again, that works completely fine for me. And this is where it comes into where, if they do something that does work on top of a great game mechanic, I would eat it up. Absolutely. Yeah. Like this, it would. This is all I want to talk about.
It would make Little Mac better as a whole, because then you would have that same attachment from that game, and you could go back and play Punch-Out and Super Punch-Out, and you'd be like, oh my god, like.
Yeah. Now I know. Maybe this relationship with Glass Joe, like there was something, more to that, where they're not just.
There could be like corruption. There could be like fight fixing and all kinds of stuff, and just like it could be a really no.
I know. Yeah, no, I love the idea of just giving you a world where a character you've known for so long suddenly has infinitely more to them. Like, it makes you love and respect that character. When they announced Little Mac for Smash Brothers, of course, like a lot of us, you, me, Adrian, like a ton of my friends were all just like, oh my god, that's the greatest news ever. And there was a lot of reaction from Japan, and they're like, the Punch-Out guy? Why does anybody care? Like, they were just sort of like, what does it matter? He's like in the game where like they're literally the same all the way through. There's nothing to them. You know, he's just. It's like getting, you know, the Mario from Wrecking Crew as a character. You know, like there's nothing to that story of that character, or Urban Champion, God forbid. But you know, like Little Mac is kind of mysterious. There's not much known to him, but he's simple and he's relatable, and he's, you know, the underdog story is always really exciting, and it's what makes Rocky so good. You know, like it's exactly it captures the spirit of the Rocky movies tremendously. I mean, you know, number one, from all the stereotypes that they throw in there and all the radical characters that they have, you know, Rocky fight. Punch-Out does, you know, and in just as racist a manner. They're like, oh, he goes to Russia and he kills the Russian because the Russians are bad guys, you know, and then Rocky wins. Or hey, the Russian killed his American friend because that's what Russians do. And then you go fight Soda Popinski and he's just screaming at you in Russian and drinking his soda pop and, you know, fighting Bolt Bull, and he just yells at you in Turkish and runs over you. And
like, what I want is I want these iconic Punch-Out moments. These, like, if you were to describe Punch-Out to a kid, like, they would visualize it as more than what... I mean, Punch-Out is a fantastic game, but it's a basic formula.
Yeah.
It's like when my brother was explaining A Link to the Past to me, I envisioned it as real life. Like, he was like, oh, you push this block and the castle starts filling up with water. And I had pictured, like, this dark, scary castle with, like, Link being in this... It looked worse... It looked better in my head than games look now.
Sure.
When he was describing the Super Nintendo to me. And so if you were to, like, tell a kid, like, yeah, you fight this big, scary Turkish guy, and he's completely bald, and when he starts losing the fight, he just charges at you and can knock you out, like, completely in one hit. And so if you tell them that, they see this big boxing ring with this super imposing dude just, like, charging Little Mac down and, like, throwing this all-or-nothing punch.
Yeah.
And it would be so great to see that cinematically and not just in the confines of the Punch-Out engine.
Yeah, I fully agree. The idea of also, like, you know, like you're up and coming, you fight 3 or 4, you know, fights in the Bronx, you know, in Brooklyn or whatever, and then you're like, hey, we're gonna travel out to L.A. to fight Super Macho Man, and then they're like, Little Mac, you know, we got you a fight in India. You know, and Mac's just like, whoa. And then you go out there and you fight this magician, you know, like he's just like this Indian magician, and it just throws him for a loop because suddenly this guy is like teleporting around, turning into smoke, and like it's almost like this surreal Indiana Jones Temple of Doom style atmosphere. You know, there's this rundown village, and like the only thing they've got going for them, and you know, Mac doesn't know what's going on, and there could be some sort of like band of thieves that he's working with or whatever. You know, that you have to go kill or kiss or whatever Little Mac does to thieves. You know, because I don't know.
Yeah.
Or a boyfriend or whatever, but yeah. You could the worst day of my life. I gotta look for something real quick because now that we're talking about this, I have.
Is it Negoshi's phone number?
I'm gonna look for Negoshi's phone number because I want to call him and see if he's willing to make this game for us. Now I have this little box full of they're just little tiny like music CDs, and I got this as like a collection in Japan, and I shoved them all into this box, and they don't really fit. But like, you know, this one right here is like the Super Mario Brothers soundtrack. There's one right here that's the Donkey Kong soundtrack, Donkey Kong Jr. And actually, I wonder, because these are all from a bunch of, you know, Nintendo franchises, there's Metroid and Zelda 2 and stuff, I wonder if there's a Punch-Out disc. Because, I mean, not that I have the sound files on my computer, but I just want to know. Wild Gunman, that's funny. Popular soundtrack. Kid Icarus. Let's see. The Disc Writer machine, that's kind of weird. Like,
yeah, that's...
Let's see, there's Excite Bike versus Excite Bike and Mach Rider all on one disc. Donkey Kong 3, Mario Brothers, Mario USA, and Zelda 2. So I don't know, I don't think I've got a complete collection, but it doesn't say like how many different. Oh poop, I would have loved to Punch Out, but never mind, I guess. Never mind. Oh, caca lords. So, And my favorite part about Punch-Out is it's literally like 4 tracks, and every single one of them like is appropriate for that game. Every single one of them feels good. Like I'm going to the gym a lot, and like there's a handful of songs I put on that like pump me up when I'm doing stuff, and I really feel like I'm in a training montage with Doc. And I'll put on either music from like Double Dragon Neon, like the first level music, or put on Little Mac's theme. And like the moment I put that song on, I'm just like, I can lift anything, and I feel like I'm just gonna go knock out some drunk Russian man, and I'm so excited. And that's all I want, man. That's all I want. I want Punch-Out all day. I don't even know if I have a complete collection of these things currently. It might just be... I don't know. Well, maybe. I've got 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 now. I guess I might have all of them. I don't know. See in here, there might be 20 different albums. I have 15 normal discs, 4 special discs, and then 1 other. Okay. Well, that's cool, I guess. I'm depressed. So what are you going to say, Michael? And I guarantee this is going to happen. I've never guaranteed more in my life. When we go to E3 and they announce that Mike Jones is the newest character for Smash Brothers, it's going to happen. I promise.
Oh my God, I'm gonna. All right, here it is in my head, right?
Okay.
I'm watching the video. I'm watching the live feed, and there's like a sticker, right? Like a sticker from Brawl is like falling, kind of fluttering like this.
Yeah.
And it's like falling in between a fight, and Greninja uses like one of his water attacks, and it hits it, and it starts to like you start to see through it, and you can see the text. It's like Mike Jones has joined the fight.
Oh.
And then I just rip my shirt off and punch glass.
Yeah, keep a pane of glass handy for that week just in case. It sucks that it's not going to happen, but
you just guaranteed it, damn it.
I know. It's okay. Okay, my guarantee says it's going to happen, so I'll make it happen.
Yeah, make sure it happens just like that.
Okay. Yeah. Well, if you did any other way, it wouldn't matter. Man alive. So I beat Phoenix Wright the other day.
Yeah.
I did. It was fantastic.
I beat Buzz Master Quiz for the PSP the other day.
How was that?
It was a pretty decent. It's got, you know what the best thing about it is? It has hot seat. You can pass the PSP and do a multiplayer quiz that way.
That's kind of nice.
One thing I also learned is that PSP games are still being made.
By whom?
They're actually, like, if I give you the list of Wikipedia has for upcoming games, they're not small titles. They're pretty big. I don't think they're coming out in America. There are a couple listed for North America, but I don't think that's... Let me sort by release date here and see what I have as far as released games for PSP. Go. FIFA 14 apparently came out September 2013 for the PSP. But as for the upcoming games, where is it? Here we go. We have another Legend of Heroes game, some Sesame Street games, a Super Robot Wars, a Summon Night, a Fate Extra, Sword Art Online, which is a really big property right now in Japan. Like they're Namco Bandai is pushing a lot of them.
Okay.
So, and then there's something called Seventh Dragon 2022 by Sega that's supposed to come out in America and Japan. It's listed as on Wikipedia. It has the release date listed as tomorrow, actually, for Japan. So,
guess we'll see.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay. Well, that's good. That's good for the PSP. However, I think we're getting to a point where it might be time to start wrapping up pretty soon.
I think you're right.
Been a pretty solid 2 hours this time. You know, not a ton of questions, but some good commentary feedback this whole time. A lot of good discussion, though. A lot of broken hearts. But I suppose that's the way things go sometimes. You know, it's good to think. It's good to wish. It's good to pretend that I've got my Ninja Turtles Rocksteady developed game.
Yeah.
Punch Out Amusement Vision game in the dream world. In the dream world, Michael.
Yeah.
Someday. Okay. Well, good. I want to thank everybody who came to watch this evening or listen, whatever you're doing. It's always fun having you guys, come in and chat with us, and we just babble for hours, whatever that's about, poop tampons or pads or whatever, or actual game conversation. There's never a lack of fun at the Cyber Zone.
Nope.
So we appreciate it when you guys show up. So on that note, I think we're going to end it at a nice 2-hour mark here, and hopefully be back next week with more hot action for you guys.
I'll be there.
Yeah, I'll be there as well. I'll be there in Spanish.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't really speak much Spanish. I've been learning sign language recently, like not very well, but I can, like JONATH. I can't remember. I'm actually I'm forgetting some of it. I'm trying to learn stuff, but I learned like some weird stuff, like some bad words as well too, like semen. I guess isn't really a bad word, but I'm afraid that when you learn like a second language and you're learning anything and you learn the bad words, sometimes they're easy to remember. So sometimes when you're trying to speak properly, you default to the words you know because they're there. And I'm afraid I'm going to be talking to somebody. I'm going to be like, how is your couch or whatever, and I'm going to say, how is your semen or something stupid, because that's what I know how to say. My limited vocabulary makes it so I can make maybe like 30 different sentences of the words I know, but most of them are useful. So I got to be careful with that. But I'm learning some stuff, and I like it.
That's exciting.
It is kind of fun. So I'll have more sign language for you guys next time.
That'd be good if you could interpret for our hearing impaired audience.
Yeah, it's really bad. Like anything that you or I are saying right now, I couldn't even begin to motion at all, except for you or me.
I semen you.
I can say that. Or I forgot the word for it. No, I don't know. I asked Michelle the other night, how do you like my semen? Yeah, she just looked at me. But she knows actually a lot more than I do. She has a cousin who she learned sign language to speak with, so it was good. Anyway, this concludes this evening's episode of the Cyber Zone. Again, thank everybody who watched and listened and learned many new things about the human body and science in general. And we'll be back next week with more factoids for you.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody have a good night. We'll talk to you next time.
Don't do it.